the opposite of what's the opposite of passive?
Unpassive.
No.
Possessive.
Assertive.
Assertive?
Yeah.
Alright, so I believe that like there's passive and assertive activism. I believe that if you have a pin on your book bag that says Black Lives Matter, or you will rock a shirt that says Black Lives Matter, I believe that's in the same message as going down the street saying Black Lives Matter. It's like when it comes to sending a message, you can send your message and shit like that, but doesn't matter what medium it is, your message is being sent, it's up to the receiver on how they interpret it. If somebody really doesn't fuck with your movement, they're gonna interpret the pin at the same time they're gonna interpret the yelling. Maybe the yelling will get them more angry. But that's how I personally see activism. I just think that just doing something for the betterment of a cause. That's enough activism for me. Whether if you want to quantify it and measure the impact, that's something that's different. That's in and of itself, like analyzing activism, seeing which form of activism works and which doesn't. That's then working with activism, but that's how I define activism.
When I think about what is activism, I guess for me the core concept would be sort of fighting or doing any sort of change or sort of, not activism, but sort of action either through social media platforms, protesting, any other forms of sort of bringing about the attention of issues that either face people, either sociologically, economically, politically, etc., in order to enact what I would consider positive change. What I touched on briefly earlier when I was trying to define activism was that activism has multiple media outlets in order to encourage this, either through social media like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or more sort of not grassroots but more traditional activism, which is like marching, protesting, etc., just for a specific cause. And in regards to the question if I would consider myself an activist, I would consider myself sort of like a mild activist. I do most of my activism on Facebook, either posting on Facebook groups, going to various pro-black Facebook groups in an attempt to sort of acknowledge the racism in the world and sort of develop from it and sort of guide other sort of my peers, which is my dorm mates, etc., towards sort of being more illustrated and more aware of sort of the activist campaigns.
I think activism is when people group together to stand up and speak out about things in the world that are not okay for others, with like lack of being able to have certain rights or being able to do certain things, get an equal amount of pay or something. I think it's important activism is here because it helps people to feel that they have a voice, even if it's in a small group. They're still able to see that they're not the only one there with that same opinion. When asked if I'm an activist, I believe I am. I'm not very high of an activist, but I do most of my activism on the internet with Facebook and Twitter, Tumblr sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really important that we all speak out about our ideas and our thoughts that we have on certain issues, because if no one speaks out, then how's anything going to get changed?
So activism to me means believing in something and standing firmly on it. Not only believing in it and standing firmly on it, but acting upon it. Action speaks significantly louder than words. Whatever you believe, put them into action and having those actions implemented on behalf of you or community or whoever or whatever you're representing. That's what activism means to me.
And what is activism to me? I think to me it personally means standing up for social rights. So what you believe in is social rights, what you believe in is right. And activism is more of an action instead of a word. So actually doing what you can to change the situation that you're not happy with, whether it's petitioning, organizing, educating. It's all a part of activism.
Okay.
Sometimes I know that things are going on, but I don't really say anything about them, and sometimes I speak up and I educate, but that's as far as I go sometimes.
To me, activism means someone who is promoting social change and out there doing things about the inequalities that people face. Well, I work at the Social Justice Center, so I organize the programs and help out with the programs that educate people on the inequalities that we face.
I'm an activist in my own right, not so much on a large scale, but more on like a small scale phenomenon. I plant seeds throughout the community and the youth I teach and things like that. Hopefully those seeds will flourish into trees and buildings or whatever they're meant to flourish into.
I think there's a very big population here, and Rutgers has its own dorm wing. So even there, that's a big step, because I don't know a lot of schools that have their own dorm wing for the LGBT community, and they're very outspoken about it. Like, you see flags of LGBT, you have like the queer ball. The queer ball is something big about the LGBT community, so I feel like Rutgers is very open to that.
People of color at Rutgers and at the Rutgers community aren't represented as well as they should, or aren't as represented as largely as the dominant group at Rutgers. We know who they are. So I feel like, yeah, we're not as included in certain programs and activities and things like that, in certain buildings and infrastructure and policies and whatever the case may be. I feel like we're not as included, and the LGBTQ community as well. We're in the same boat on several causes. Not all of them, but on several causes we're in the same boat. We share similar struggles in certain respects. So I feel like. Yeah, I feel like the LGBTQ community is flourishing as far as like their organization, as far as the organization on campus. I feel like their voice is being heard, so that's just like keep on keeping on.
I think Rutgers still has a lot to go with representation of people of color, and a lot of the times they'll see things in only one perspective and not look to the students for their opinions or thoughts on matters such as groups on campus and visitors we have and how it will affect the student body. And I think Rutgers needs to listen up more to the students, because we're the ones paying the tuition, and why should we keep paying you money if you're not going to listen to us?
Well, I feel like it represents everyone to an extent, because they have all of them here, but as far as it being like inclusive and everybody being together, it's not so good, because they have all of these things, but they're so sectioned off that it's not really like a community. We're not all together, we're all separated.
They're not doing anything to help it. They're not doing anything to talk about the history behind it. And that's where a lot of the issues come in, because we're very, we appreciate Rutgers. Like, Rutgers is the best place on earth. Like, I would never change my school ever. Does Rutgers have a lot of changes to do? Yes. Does Rutgers need to talk and speak on the history more than acknowledging that there is a history? Yes. We're talking about the history right now at the 250th, but when we're 251, are we still going to be talking about the history of Rutgers? Or are we going to talk about the next great thing? Because that's something that Rutgers loves to do. For instance, the Paul Robeson Center, there's going to be a statue for Paul Robeson for his 100th anniversary. Why is it that it takes to his 100th anniversary to get that statue? Why isn't that not something that was done while the Culture Center was being built and stuff? So there's a lot of things that Rutgers can change, and over time those things may happen, those things may not happen, but as an activist and as a student, I feel as though it's our job to make sure those things happen and to make sure that our history is being told. That way, when our kids do come to this school, because they will, they know that they know the history. It's not because we told them the history. It's because they came in for orientation and they learned the history. And it's also not because they got a brochure that says this is the history of Rutgers. It was actually told to them. It's taught to them in their classes. It's taught to them when they're walking into the dining hall. And it's not Black History Month, because during Black History Month is the only time you see Dr. King on the wall in the dining hall, or you see Rosa Parks on the wall in the Student Center, because it's February and stuff. So,
Hi, my name is Andrew Walker Serena. I'm a third year at Rutgers. My pronouns are he, him, and my major is biological sciences.
Hi, my name is Ashton Whalen, and I'm a senior at Rutgers, majoring in social work.
My name is Lena Sanchez. My pronouns are she, hers.
Hi, my name is Sharon Tufino. I am a junior majoring in Latino Caribbean Studies and Spanish with a minor in public policy. My pronouns are she, her, her.
Hi, my name is Edwin Perez. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I major in criminal justice with a minor in social justice and education. I am the proceeding co-chair.
My name is Tyree Lewis. My pronouns are he and him. My major is communications, and I'm a sophomore.